Hello everyone, welcome back to the Undercut. Today we're going to be talking about why the F1 2025 season will be the greatest season of all of Formula One history. Kick us off, Jack. What have we got to look forward to this coming season?
I mean, there's many things to look forward to in this season coming up. I mean, the first thing that we've got to look forward to is the convergence of race pace that we saw at the end of last season between McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes.
Absolutely, that was one of the best things about last season, despite there not being much of a compelling championship fight, let's say.
Yeah.
It got us excited knowing that, you know, there's more than one team that can win a race.
Yes, more than one team that can win a race. And coming into this season, so many teams all together. Not many changes have happened. Obviously, teams focusing on 2026. This year's going to be close.
It is going to be close, and that's why we think there won't be many performance changes, just because they are trying to focus purely on 2026. It's basically going to be a 2025 car Part B, essentially.
Yeah.
2024 car Part B, sorry. That is essentially what these cars will be, mostly. Unless one team decides, you know what, balls to the wall, let's go for it, get as high in the championship as possible. You sometimes do see that. You know, maybe Haas try, maybe, I don't know, who knows. But either way, it's going to be good because all the cars are going to be close. I think we're going to have 4 teams this season that are capable of winning races.
Yes.
Some more so than others, but I do think all 4 of McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes will win a race.
Yeah.
This season, which should be interesting.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I think the first topic that we are going to have to delve into and why this season then, after obviously the convergence of them, is Lewis Hamilton is changing from Mercedes after 12 years to the Ferrari. Now, this is going to be a hell of a year to watch Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari to see if he's got his mojo back, for one. Yeah. That's the main thing. Will he get his form back?
That's the interesting question, though, isn't it?
That is interesting. I mean, do you think he'll get his form back?
Yes. Well,
yeah.
It's for 2 reasons mainly. Number one, I do think these cars aren't suited to his driving style, but I do think the Ferrari will be more suited.
Yeah.
Because the Mercedes just wasn't great in the end, very unstable. And number 2, you know, when Hamilton will say he gave it everything in his last races with Mercedes, but there will be a part of him that was clocked out for, knowing that he's going to go to Ferrari. So he'll have the extra push. He'll do the extra minutes. He'll do the extra lap time. He'll think about the extra detail. There'll be a little bit more in Hamilton this season, I think.
Yeah.
So that's my sort of take on the Hamilton situation.
Well, yeah, I mean, his main downfall last season, we would say, would be the qualifying.
Yeah, definitely.
Will it continue in 2025? I think it may potentially. It's 50-50. I mean, if a car and Lewis get synced up, the qualifying will sync up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is his age a factor now, though?
I think it's a combination of things last season. I think naturally, I just think George Russell is just a better qualifier, but also I think there's an element of the fact that over one lap, maybe his age is playing a part now. And that's also then coupled with the fact that the Mercedes car last season only worked in a temperature window of like 0.5 degrees Celsius.
Well, yeah.
So, all those things in one, and you get Hamilton qualifying that we got last season. Now, obviously, the car should be more suited towards him, should be better. He'll have an extra push of motivation. He is against Charles Leclerc, who is arguably one of the best, if not the best qualifier in the grid. So that's not going to help. But if he can get his mojo back, he should be a lot closer.
Yeah, I think we potentially will see his mojo back. The big question is he in the fight for his 8th, though? Is he? Is he really?
No, but the thing is, you say no, it's probably going to be Norris, Verstappen, maybe
Charles.
Maybe even Piastri, the young guys, right? Don't ever discount Sir Lewis Hamilton. You can't. It's foolish.
No,
it is foolish.
I think he's well in the fight for his 8th.
Yes,
this season.
As much as I believe, and I know you do as well because we've made videos, that Charles Leclerc will probably come away victorious from that teammate rivalry and will, in our opinion, win the championship this year.
Yeah.
Never discount Lewis Hamilton because he could, even though we think otherwise, he very well could prove us wrong and win this championship. He can. That's just straight up. It's silly, foolish to discount this man. You can't.
It is. I mean, he is one of the points that we have to watch this year. I mean, he'll be under serious scrutiny from the British fans, the Tifosi, everything. Is he too old? Is he washed? Is he back?
Who knows?
That's what we got to see. That is why 2025 is going to be great.
Yeah, and he will certify himself as the GOAT if he does, because he will do something.
If he wins this year, you can't argue it.
No, he will have done something that Michael Schumacher couldn't do. Remember back to 2006, Schumacher obviously lost the, Ferrari didn't really have the car to do so, but Schumacher was kind of on his way out. After his last championship in 2004, lost 2005, Alonso ended up winning it. Had a resurgence in 2006, almost won the title, unfortunately lost to Alonso. And then obviously couldn't do it again, retired, came back to Mercedes, lost his mojo. Hamilton is, if he wins in Ferrari, he's sort of, people would say, on his way out now. If he manages to win, it's something Schumacher couldn't do. And I think that would be hella interesting and would certify him as the GOAT.
Yes, I think it will. I mean, away from Lewis Hamilton, I think everyone's been talking about Lewis Hamilton ever since them first pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Have come out. It's phenomenal. But let's move on and look at the rest of the season. And I think a big talking point, again, a transfer from a big team to, well, a big-ish team, I suppose, now, with Lawrence Stroll taking over. Adrian Newey to Aston Martin. Obviously, Adrian Newey oversaw the amazing surgence of Red Bull when they had Vettel between 2010 and 2013. And obviously the Max Verstappen dominance that we have witnessed recently. Can Aston Martin get in the fight? No. Yeah, that's fair.
No. I mean...
Straight in, no.
No, it's... No, I mean...
No!
Adrian Newey's a genius, but can he flip a switch and make a car championship worthy? No, he can't. It's just not possible. At the very most...
2026?
Yes, that's because it's a regulation change. At the very most, I believe he will enable Aston Martin to develop this car in the later half of the season.
Could they get podiums regularly at the end of the season?
I'm not saying it's not a possibility, because they could. Because Adrian Newey has that type of magic. And it's not out of the realms of possibility for a team to do that. We've seen McLaren do it in 2023, right? So it's not impossible. And Aston Martin have already been at that end of the field in this era of regulation. So they have the potential. But will it be a flip of the switch? Will Adrian Newey come in and make them win? No. It will be focused on 2026. It will be focused on getting those regs right with Fernando Alonso currently. And trying to win the title with Fernando. That is the goal right now for Aston Martin. So while it is exciting, and while maybe Aston could potentially start to cement themselves at the top of that midfield, even maybe break into Formula A come the end of the season, I do not think it is as simple as flipping a switch.
Well, I think that's the crucial thing about this Adrian Newey move this year is obviously the previous 2 years, obviously 2022, Aston Martin started out second best team, dropped down the order, and then started this year out comfortably fifth best team, dropped down the order again, seventh, eighth best team come the end of the year. So I think that's the interesting thing about Adrian Newey. Can he stop that progression of Aston Martin starting out in a position and being worse at the end of the year? Can he keep Aston Martin and maybe even get them better? I think that's the interesting thing coming into 2025. Can Adrian Newey help the development of Aston Martin this year? Yeah. That's what they need.
I think it's more about stopping their downfall than
I think that is progressing, and by stopping the downfall, that is the progression. Because the downfall's been monumental.
it's fair to say they probably start as the 6th best team.
Well, that's the thing. That's the
The
thing. If you're going
most.
off pace from what we've looked at from the start of 2022, they've gone from second best to the end of 2024. So not even well 2 years over 2 seasons. Well, 3 seasons, but 2 and a bit years technically. They've gone from second best to 8th.
Yeah.
That it shouldn't progress downward that drastically. Now that is shocking.
Yeah.
Now
so-
Adrian Newey, I think, needs to come in and progress that team from arguably what is, if you go off the end of last season, the 8th quickest car, and get them solidified 5th quickest car by the end of 2025. That's it.
yeah.
For them to have a hope come 2026, 2027. And if he does that, and we can see a hope in 2026, 2027, a bit of fun here, can Fernando win a championship again?
Ooh, it's gonna keep us guessing all season. That is.
Can he? That
No, that
it would be interesting. 2026, a Lewis Hamilton Fernando Alonso fight, Ferrari versus Aston Martin.
Bro, pull it back.
Roll back the
2007.
years.
It's almost 20 years, bro, since. Yeah, it would be. I mean, actually, if he won if Fernando won 2026, it would actually be 20 years since his second championship.
Yeah.
Which is mental. He could be the only driver in history to win 2 championships 2 decades apart, which would be phenomenally weird if he could. But Fernando Alonso's here for a reason. He ain't just sticking around in the sport to just drive a car. He's he didn't do it a Kimmy, in a hobby. He's here to win.
Yes.
So
Wow. Fernando Alonso, Adrian Newey.
Yep.
It could be a force come these new regs.
It could be. What's next then?
Next, obviously, Red Bull drama. Is it going to continue this year? Obviously, 2024. After the Sir Lewis Hamilton announcement of the move to Ferrari, everything has been about Red Bull, albeit the Christian Horner allegations, the Helmut Marko potentially leaving, the Max Verstappen leaving, going to Mercedes. Obviously, the Checo shitness.
Yeah.
Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, Daniel Ricciardo.
Yep.
One thing we know with Red Bull going into every year, something's going to go on. What's it going to be this year? It could be anything.
I think it's just a 2024 part 2, really.
Well, if it's 2024 part 2, it's box office still.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's the Max saga's continuing. There's rumors about him going to Aston Martin at some point. There's stuff coming out, about Yuki and what's he doing. Is he lined up to replace Liam Lawson? We've also got to think of Liam Lawson as well. If he does a Checo, Red Bull are going to be under fire from firing Checo because it wasn't his fault. And then we're going to have the whole Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon conversation again for the fucking 3rd time. Like, I'm tired of this conversation. Please.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm actually just begging Liam does bits, because if he doesn't, I'm tired of having this conversation about the Red Bull second driver. Just please, for the love of God. We know it's not the drivers anymore, okay? So...
Well,
it's gonna happen though. You know it is. Liam's gonna be Liam's gonna be washed compared to Max in that Red Bull. You know he is. It's gonna happen, right? And I hope he proves me wrong. But I don't see. It's gonna be 2024 part 2. Is all I'm gonna say. That's just it will be.
In terms of drivers, yeah. I mean, do you think anything will come of Christian, Jos, and Helmut?
Oh, I think the Jos. I think
something's brewing.
I mean, with the Aston Martin rumours, I think somewhere between Jos and Christian Horner is gonna, and Jos and Helmut Marko is gonna. Oh, them 3. There's gonna be something.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but it is brewing.
Something is brewing there, and it's not good. I mean, obviously, Aston Martin. We just talked about Aston Martin, Newey's arrival. This is the team that Newey left.
Yeah.
Red Bull. Does he know something that's going on? Are Red Bull now going to start declining? Is it a coincidence that when Newey left the team, Red Bull just started going in a downward trajectory?
Last
season.
No, it's not a coincidence, because Adrian Newey has been such a leader in that team. I think they felt lost without him.
Yeah.
I think they'll regroup and their performance will be more steady this season. We won't see that drop off like we saw last season. In fact, we could even see an improvement. But I think it was because he left mid-season, didn't he? He left mid-season.
Yeah, he did.
On a sabbatical. He took a sabbatical and
left.
And
well, it was after Miami.
After Miami, right? So, then there was a significant drop-off. So, I think they just felt lost without him. And Nui obviously directing those upgrades, he then had nothing to do with them. They had to take his ideas and do what they thought was best with them. And I reckon that was probably why their performance halted. They'll have someone else now in place that is doing that Nui role and is sort of getting everything together. Will it work as well as Nui? I don't think so, but, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing, obviously. 2024, we saw them go in a downward spiral. Will that continue in 2025? It's another one to watch.
It is.
These are all things that we've got to be watching, because if Red Bull continue in that downward trajectory, the chances of retaining Max for the season after or being in another championship fight for 2026, let's be honest though, next year still counts towards 2026 and will be a big help if you do well still.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Red Bull's going to be one to watch in terms of its pace and off the track stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Now, do you want a bit more fun?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Do you know what's going to be fun come Australia?
What?
The 5 new rookies that we have on this grid.
Oh yeah, turn 1 is going to be chaos. Do you remember do you remember the turn 1 2008 Australian Grand Prix? 5 drivers got taken out in turn 1 in that race. Do you not remember? So
I remember. I mean, you could do a really much easier one. It was at 2023, the red flag after the restart.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. No, sorry,
I forgot about that one where like 10 drivers all.
Yeah, but there was like sort of like 5 drivers got taken out in turn 1. Anyway,
yeah.
The point is that's gonna be 2025 Australia. Okay, turn 1, 6 rookies. 6 rookies.
Well, no, five full season rookies. Obviously, Lawson's got over the 2 seasons that he's done a few races in at half a season's worth of experience now.
I'm counting Lawson. 6 rookies.
Okay, right. Well, it's 5 new rookies.
Yeah, 5
okay?
new rookies. First full season for 6 drivers.
Yeah.
And it's going to be chaos into turn 1. It's going to be chaos.
It is going to be a quarter. Well, over a quarter if you include Lawson, but a quarter of the grid are rookies. They're new to Formula 1.
It's going to be... I'm here for it. It's going to make that 4 a.m. wake up worth it.
I am. I mean, the big question is...
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not including Lawson right now.
No.
I'm just including these 5. 5 arrive at Australia.
Yeah.
Do 5 leave Abu Dhabi?
Ooh, no.
I don't think so.
There's no
either.
chance. There's no. I mean, there's the obvious one.
Yeah, right. I think unfortunately the obvious one is Doohan. Do you think it's just Doohan though?
Yeah.
Do you? I'm 50-50. I'm swayed a little bit. I'm 50-50 with Hadjar right now.
No, Hadjar obviously I think will get dominated by Yuki. But
yeah.
Red Bull, I think, are in a position where they've not got Checo Perez anymore. They've lost Daniel Ricciardo. They maybe don't have the pull that they used to have for young drivers and older drivers. They haven't got many in the youth academy that are possibly better. They have a Wasser, but if they were going to go with a Wasser, they would have gone with him, you know, 2-3 seasons ago. They've lost Alex Albon. They've lost Pierre Gasly. You know, Kvyat ain't here anymore. The point is they're pretty short on drivers. They haven't got many more.
Yeah, I mean, they could dip out the driver pool like they did with Checo.
They could, but that's not the point of the junior team.
Joe's waiting. I'm telling you, Joe's waiting.
No. Oh my God. I mean, Jesus Christ. If you go to Joe, you got problems. Like that's just. I'm no offense to
Sergeant.
Joe, but no, that's even worse. So at least Joe scored points last season,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, this is the thing. You can't, Red Bull, they're a bit short. I think Hajar's safe. He can't do too stinky. If he does too stinky, Awasa is in there. Like if he's detrimental.
If he's
But
defreezing it.
if he's defreezing it, I don't think he'll be that. I think he'll be closer to Yuki than DeFreeze was. I just think he'll be sort of in that bottom 5.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time. I think there'll be an occasional point scoring position, but I think he's in the bottom 5 most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 50-50 with Hajar. I think Behrman, Antonelli, and Bortoletto should survive the season. I don't think Doohan's surviving half a season. Easy. But, yeah, I mean, an interesting thought that has come up when I've been scrolling through a bit of news, though, around the rookies is obviously... I don't think many people have looked at it in this way. Is obviously Mercedes have Bottas as a reserve driver.
Yes, they do.
Is that a viewpoint? As if Kimi Antonelli, if he's not ready, if he's crashing consistently, do they just swap them and Kimi is a reserve driver and Bottas comes into the team?
Return of the King. No. If there was any, I'm right. Obviously, it's smart to have a backup plan, but what I will say is that if there was those lingering doubts in Toto's mind, Kimi Antonelli's not in that car.
Yeah.
He would be in the Williams.
Maybe it's to replace George.
Could you imagine? No, but Bottas is purely there as a reserve. I mean, Bottas didn't even know he was leaving the Audi project until fairly late on. Because he was in the running for that seat alongside Hulkenberg. So I think it is probably okay, we can rely on this guy. We can rely on Valtteri to jump in the car and do the business if one of these guys is out for 1 or 2 races.
Yeah.
And you can. He's worked with the team. He knows everyone there. He loves the team. The team love him. Bottas will be doing the business. He will. So yeah, I don't think I even if Kimi Antonelli stinks the gaff, I don't think they replace him this season. If they do, it's next season, but I don't think that's got any chance of happening.
No, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay then. So, final thing on the rookies here now. Who out of all the rookies is in the best position to sort of perform at their best?
Well, I can tell you for a fact, it's not Doohan.
Well, okay.
It's not Hajar, and it's definitely not Bortoletto, unfortunately for him. Although, I reckon as well, I think Bortoletto might have, possibly at this moment in time, the greatest skill set of all of them. I reckon he could be the quickest. I
would agree with that. I'm a huge fan of Bortoletto.
But I don't think he's not got the facilities to show it. It won't be Liam Lawson.
I would also argue Antonelli in there though as well. Antonelli's one of them as a generational talent.
He is, but going up against George Russell in the top 4 flight, maybe not straight away. It's not Liam Lawson, so this is why I'm going to say Oliver Behrman.
I agree with Oliver Behrman. I think he's got the facilities to produce good performances, maybe even beat Ocon over the season.
Yeah. His teammate is a difficult teammate. Ocon's no pushover, but when you compare him
it's beatable.
When you compare him to George Russell, a trash Sauber, Max Verstappen, Ocon looks at least somewhat beatable. So, no disrespect to Ocon, fantastic driver, but there are harsher competitions out there. And when you look at it, Haas potentially top of the midfield, or at least in there to score points potentially this season. I think Oliver Behrman has the facilities to perform the best out of all of them. Unfortunately for some, doesn't mean he's the best driver out of all of them. I just think he has the opportunities to show what he's about more than the rest, I'd say, this season.
Yeah, I mean, well, in contrast to that, I mean, I fully agree with everything you said there, but in contrast to it, though, who's got the most pressure? Who's not going to perform this
This is
season.
a loaded question.
Other than Doohan and Lawson,
Okay.
Lawson here, we're taking them two out
Okay.
because obviously Max Verstappen's teammate and Doohan, they're obvious ones. So we'll take them out. Out of, obviously, if you think Oliver Behrman is going to be the best, well, best position to perform, it's not going to be him. Who's got the most pressure on them?
Maybe it's a hot take. Oliver Behrman.
Again.
Because Kimi Antonelli and Gabriel Bortoleto are a part of long-term projects.
Yes.
Antonelli does have to prove himself, but at the same time he doesn't. These other guys have to prove themselves to get themselves in a top seat. Antonelli doesn't. He's already there, right? The same way Lewis Hamilton was in 2007. Bortoleto, I guess you could say, is already at his final destination. Granted, Audi is successful. If Audi aren't, then there's a different question there, but we aren't quite there yet. So granted Audi is successful and that project works, Bortoleto is at his final destination, where he could potentially win a world championship. Oliver Behrman is not there with Haas. However, Oliver Behrman is a part of the Ferrari Young Driver Academy, in which, who will be retiring soon? Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Well, if he goes anything like Fernando Alonso, he could be here for another 10 years.
He could be, but let's just assume Hamilton is probably on his way out in the next few years.
Yeah.
Who is the first person to replace Lewis Hamilton? It's Oliver Behrman.
Yeah, it should be.
It is the natural replacement. He has the pressure to perform, to put himself in that seat. If he doesn't perform, Ferrari are looking elsewhere.
Yes.
So
they are.
I'd argue it's Oliver Behrman only because Kimi's already there. Gabriel Bortoleto is already where he wants to be. Liam Lawson is in the Red Bull, so you're not getting much better than that. I mean, who else is there?
Hadjar.
Oh, maybe Hadjar, because it's the Red Bull situation, possibly. I don't know. So, yeah, it's between Behrman and Hadjar, probably, for me, I'd say.
Yeah, no, I see that. I mean, I think the pressure that Behrman and Hadjar have is completely different to the sort of pressure that Antonelli's going to have.
Yeah, it's different.
It's a different form of pressure. I think their pressure's more to do with, can you be with your teammate? Can you keep up? Can you catch them? I mean, obviously, first couple of races, maybe they don't expect them to be there with their teammate, maybe a little bit off, but can you get to a point where you're like, you deserve to be in that team? Whereas I think Antonelli's more of a, you're in a top team now. You have to consistently be now top 8, which is what Checo wasn't doing.
Yeah, and the thing is, as well, is you got to think, is Antonelli's got a quick enough car to sort of show almost what he's about, to where if he was dropped by Mercedes, he probably would end up be picked up. He probably would be picked up by another team anyway.
Yes.
Whereas if you get dropped from Haas or RB, you're not getting picked up by another team.
You're struggling.
You're struggling. Whereas if Antonelli gets dropped by Mercedes, he could potentially do enough, or he's more likely to do enough to then be picked up by another team. So it's one of them. I think it is different pressure. Antonelli's already at his destination. Toto Wolff and Mercedes already believe in Antonelli. The others have to prove themselves to get in a top team. Antonelli's already there. So that's why I think it's Behrman or Hadjar for me. Yeah,
no, I would agree with that. I mean, we'll move on now then from the rookies. I mean, to one of the final points as to why I think this could be an interesting year is we've obviously seen McLaren take a constructors championship for the first time in a very long time last season.
Yes. Since 1998, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes. Yeah. Can they do it again? 2025.
Yeah, they can.
I think they can. I think they'll have a difficult fight with Ferrari. The only thing I think that they could have going for them is that they could clearly define a number one driver earlier than Ferrari can.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, McLaren and Ferrari have the same issue this season, because Ferrari have the greatest of all time and another driver that could potentially
arguably the greatest qualifier on the grid.
Yeah, and potentially could go down in the history books as one of the
One
greats
of
as
the
well.
greatest. Top
By the
10
end of his
potentially.
top 10 exactly with Charles. And McLaren have up and coming Oscar Piastri, very quick, very talented, alongside almost veteran Lando Norris, who is still learning the ropes when it comes to championship battles. We saw how close they were last year. Ferrari, we are assuming, are going to be close. They could have the same issue. So it could just be a case of they all take points off each other and then Max wins again. Who knows? But
Yeah. I can't do that again.
No, but it could be. You don't that is a huge possibility. So yeah, it's gonna be fun and it's gonna be interesting between the lot of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, you touched on it there a little bit, the Oscar and Lando fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, how will that play out? Obviously, we saw 2024. McLaren had papaya rules.
Yeah, they did.
Papaya rules.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, kept them apart. If it is just a McLaren and Ferrari are out of it, and it's just a McLaren fight for the championship, McLaren papaya rules out the window. Yeah. How will that Lando and Oscar fight sort of play out?
I've thought about this before, and it could get hostile.
Oh yeah.
Just because Oscar's a funny character for me. Lando gets emotional very easily.
Yes.
And he says things that potentially he regrets. But he never really goes far on the track. Oscar, however, says things passive-aggressively, but never really gets emotional. He's kind of just stone cold every time you see him. Like he's very much like he's just there. He's like Kimmy in a lot of ways in that respect.
Sort of.
But on track is the exact opposite to Lando. They, by the way, come Monza last season, Lando was firmly in that championship battle with Max, and Oscar sent it on Lando. If that's with papaya rules, I don't want to see what it looks like without. That's all I'm saying. So it could get hostile, I think. And people say, "Oh yeah, but they're great friends. It's fine. They were fine last season." They could be I could get hostile. It could. I can see it happening.
Who beats who?
Lando does come out on top. For now.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I think Lando comes out on top, obviously, in that inter-team battle. But obviously, we're back in Lando then if it's McLaren. But if we do throw a Ferrari, maybe Red Bull in there, is Lando now, after the season that we've just had, ready to challenge a Max, a Lewis, even a Charles? Potentially, is he ready to go head to head with Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, who's been involved in a few title fights now? Obviously, 2022 was in there. He was coming back into it last season at one point. Is he ready to fight them?
He has to be, because this could be.
Yeah.
Because
not he has to be. Is he? Can he? Will he?
He has to be, because no, he does, because this could be McLaren's only chance at a World Drivers' Championship. You don't know what 2026 brings. You do not know what 2026 brings. He has to be ready, because this could be his only shot. And I think that also goes for Oscar. Oscar knows this. I think Max also knows this could be his last chance at a title for a while. I think Lewis and Charles know this. I think there's an element of sort of uncertainty for all of them. This will be one of the best seasons because we don't know what will happen next season. Williams could be fucking winning next season for all we know.
Oh yeah, we don't know. Williams could have something in the pipeline.
Yeah, so that's all I'll say on that. I think he has to be ready.
Yeah.
As do all of them.
I think it could be a now or never. If the car's there, it's a now or never for everyone.
100%.
So yeah, I mean, I think the final point that I want to get onto for this 2025 season coming up, I think the final point that I've come up with here now Obviously, we touched on it at the start. Obviously, the top 4 teams converging. We touched on it a little bit with Aston Martin, their positioning of pace on the grid out the constructors. It's not just the top 4 that we got to look at. It's 5th down to 10th now, I think. I think Sauber will come back into it potentially this year. So at the end of last year that they got themselves back into it.
Yeah.
That convergence of the midfield, spicy.
Yeah, spicy.
Spicy is the word. And I think it's just going to get even more spicy coming into 2025.
It's going to be toxic.
Yeah.
And it is. It's going to be.
Word.
It's going to be toxic, and the best of the best drivers will come out on top. You're looking at your Fernando Alonso's, your Carlos Sainz's. They will be on top of that midfield battle come the end of the season.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. If it is a midfield battle between 6 teams, do Aston Martin actually have the edge over the 6 by not having a rookie?
No, but Fernando Alonso does.
Right.
So no. They, well, they could. You never know. Stroll could actually be amazing and just beat all of them. But I don't know. I don't see it. Stroll isn't cut out for F1.
On paper, you would say Aston Martin should have an edge.
Yeah, on paper they have an edge, but I mean,
you gotta remember when Stroll came in, he was tipped to be like the next up and comer.
Yeah, but look at what Behrman did last season, and you're telling me that he's.
I know, but that we've seen so many people from F2 or when it was GP2 have the pace and then not. Stoffel Van Dorn's a big example of that.
Yeah, we know it, and of course Nick de Vries being another big example.
Yeah,
Jack Doohan potentially being the latest candidate for that example.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, we can never know until Australia. You know, Kimi Antonelli could win the title or finish outside the top 10 come the end of the season. You don't know, do you? So it's up in the air with the rookies, and it ultimately will only know in Australia. Prediction wise, though, yeah, on paper Stroll should be better, but I mean, I think a lot of people are not really buying into Stroll anymore.
Yeah,
I think he could let Aston Martin down. Fernando Alonso will be top of the midfield again, even if the car isn't the quickest. Pierre Gasly and Carlos Sainz will definitely be up there. I'm confident Alex will be near the top. Alex Albon. You got to watch out for Hülkenberg. If the Sauber does have any chance of scoring points, you got to watch out for Hülkenberg.
Yes.
And of course, Bortoleto, which we mentioned at the start of the video, is really, really quick. And we don't know about Isaac Hadjar. Can never discount Yuki Tsunoda. Esteban Ocon on his day scores a win, a podium here, a win there, whatever it is. You know what I mean? We got any of these guys.
It's not just the top 4, is it? Now it's the bottom 6.
Absolutely, yeah. And also, I mean, let's just credit where credit's due. Lance Stroll on his day, right?
Yeah, Lance Stroll on his day, he can pull out a pole.
I don't think he is cut out for Formula 1, but on his day, Lance Stroll has done some incredible things. He's scored podiums multiple times with Force India, Racing Point, Williams, Aston Martin. Has scored a poles here and there. You know, he points finishes. He has done this thing. So it's, you know, you never know.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that pretty much wraps up 2025 as a hell of a year. No matter who, what, where, when, you support who.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
It's going to be absolutely crazy. And I can't wait.
I can't wait.
And I think that's it.
We'll be live for Australia. We'll be live for Australia.
We will be live for Australia.
Come on.
And I can't wait.
The 4 a.m. wake up is going to be be hard, but you know what? It's going to be fine because we've got an exciting season. So
yes,
this is where one team dominates.
Do let us know what you're looking forward to most in 2025.
Absolutely.
Yes, and we'll see you in a bit.